Dr. Kim Hana wiped sweat from her forehead as the twin suns of Kepler 442c beat down mercilessly on the excavation site. The ancient ruins stretched for kilometers across the barren landscape, their weathered stone walls telling stories older than any known civilization. Her small team of Korean archaeologists had been working here for 3 months, funded by a modest grant from Earth's Xenoarchaeology Institute. "Another dead end," muttered technician Bae Junsu, climbing out of Shaft 7 with dirt-covered overalls. "Just more empty chambers and broken pottery." But Hana wasn't ready to give up. Something about this place felt different. The mathematical proportions of the ruins, the way the corridors curved, even the placement of the ventilation shafts, everything seemed designed for beings exactly like humans, too exact to be coincidence. Her scanner beeped urgently from the deepest excavation pit. "Professor Lee Minho," she called to her research partner, who was cataloging stone tablets nearby. "The resonance detector is going crazy down here." Lee hurried over, his boots sliding on the loose gravel. At 53, he was one of Earth's most respected xenoarchaeologists, though his career had been built on studying the scattered ruins. Left by long-dead alien races, nothing had ever prepared him for what they were about to discover. 20 meters below ground, Hana's trowel struck something that definitely wasn't stone. The object was perfectly smooth, translucent, and shaped like a double helix. As soon as her gloved fingers made contact, the crystalline artifact began pulsing with a soft blue light that seemed to come from within its molecular structure. "That's impossible," Lee breathed, sliding down the rope ladder. "Crystals don't generate their own light sources unless they're artificially enhanced." Hana carefully lifted the artifact from its resting place. The moment she touched it directly, without gloves, the pulsing intensified. The crystal felt warm, almost alive, responding to her body heat and bioelectric field in ways that defied known physics. "Look at these patterns," she whispered, turning the crystal in the alien sunlight. Geometric designs covered every surface, mathematical sequences that looked remarkably similar to the golden ratio, Fibonacci spirals, and quantum field equations that human scientists had only recently discovered. Meanwhile, 3,000 light-years away at the massive Galactic Council station orbiting Vega Prime, Ambassador Krelthanor of the Thektar Empire was delivering his monthly report to the assembled representatives. The council chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, with floating platforms accommodating dozens of different species, from the crystalline Veltar to the gaseous Nethians, who existed in specialized atmospheric containers. "The humans remain utterly insignificant," Krelthanor hissed, his reptilian features twisted in contempt. 50 years since first contact, and what have they accomplished? A few mining colonies, some basic trade routes, and absolutely no military expansion worth noting. The Altarian delegate, a peaceful blue-skinned being named Zephys, tilted her head thoughtfully. Perhaps their restraint is wisdom rather than weakness. Krelthanor's laugh was like grinding metal. Restraint? They're simply primitive. While the great empires of the galaxy forge new territories and develop quantum weaponry, humans collect rocks on dead worlds and grow vegetables in space gardens. They pose no threat to anyone because they're barely capable of posing a threat to themselves. Other council members nodded in agreement. In a galaxy where species typically announce themselves with grand gestures, military demonstrations, technological marvels, or bold territorial claims, humanity had done none of these things. They'd emerged from their small blue world quietly, established modest outposts on unremarkable planets, and spent most of their time watching. Human diplomats attended council meetings but rarely spoke. Human traders operated small cargo ships on peripheral trade routes. Human scientists published papers on xenobiology and stellar cartography that were technically competent but hardly revolutionary. By galactic standards, they were background noise. Back on Kepler 4442c, Hana activated her portable scanner and aimed it at the crystal. The device immediately overloaded, sparking and smoking before shutting down completely. But in that brief moment before the scanner died, something extraordinary happened. The crystal projected a three-dimensional holographic star map that filled the entire excavation pit. 12 points of light pulsed across the galactic display, connected by streams of energy that formed an intricate pattern. Each location was marked with the same symbol, a tree whose roots and branches spiraled into infinity, creating a design that seemed to fold in on itself endlessly. "My God," Lee whispered, his voice barely audible. Ancient text began appearing alongside the holographic display, written in characters that looked almost familiar. With trembling fingers, he activated his linguistic analysis program. The translation that appeared on his tablet made both archaeologists step backward in shock. The text was clear, unmistakable, and utterly impossible. "For our children who will one day remember their way home. The first gardeners await the awakening of those who carry our legacy in their very bones." Hana's hands shook as she held the crystal. The blue light was pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat now, as if recognizing something deep within her genetic code. Around them, the ancient ruins suddenly didn't seem so ancient anymore. They seemed like messages, waiting patiently for the right people to find them. "Professor," she said quietly, "I don't think we're studying dead aliens anymore. I think we're studying our ancestors." Captain Park Ji-hoon gripped the armrests of his command chair as the new Sol dropped out of hyperspace near the third seed world. The sleek Korean exploration vessel had been his home for 6 months now, ever since Dr. Kim's discovery had turned humanity's understanding of their place in the galaxy upside down. Unlike the massive warships favored by other galactic species, human ships were built for endurance and discovery rather than conquest. "Scan complete, Captain," announced Lieutenant Cho Minji from her sensor station. Her fingers danced across, holographic displays showing energy readings that made no sense, according to current galactic physics. The planet below matches the pattern from the first 2 worlds. Ancient cities, same architectural style, and those spiral tree symbols everywhere. Park nodded grimly. Each seed world they'd investigated told the same impossible story. Ruins that predated every known galactic civilization by millions of years, yet designed perfectly for human occupation. Door frames exactly human height, stairs with human-sized steps. Even the toilet facilities were eerily familiar. "But Captain," Cho continued, her voice tight with excitement, "there's something else. We're detecting a massive artificial structure in the planet's shadow. It's been hidden behind the moon, but our new sensors are picking up energy signatures unlike anything in our databases." On the main view screen, the ancient space station slowly came into view as they adjusted their orbit. The structure was enormous, easily 5 kilometers long and covered in the same weathered metal as the surface ruins. Its hull was decorated with thousands of spiral tree symbols that seemed to pulse with their own inner light as the new Sol approached. "My readings show the station is over 3 million years old," reported Chief Engineer Kim Tae-hyung from his position at the engineering console. "But somehow it's still generating power. The energy output is minimal, like it's been in sleep mode for eons." Dr. Kim Hana floated onto the bridge in her zero-gravity suit, having transferred from the research vessel Busan Explorer that had been following them. Her face was pale with excitement and something that looked like fear. "Captain, I've been analyzing the quantum resonance patterns from the station. They match the crystalline artifacts we found on all 3 worlds. This isn't just another ruin, it's still active." Park ordered the ship to maintain a safe distance as they launched a shuttle for closer investigation. The small craft, piloted by Lieutenant Commander Oh Seung-min, approached the station's docking bay. As they drew near, ancient lights began, flickering to life along the station's hull, creating patterns that seemed to welcome them home. "The docking bay is opening on its own," Oh reported over the comm. "It's like the station recognizes us as friendly. The airlock is cycling and showing green lights for atmosphere and pressure. Everything's reading normal for human occupation." As the shuttle sealed into the docking bay, Park couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something far beyond their understanding. The station's interior corridors lit up automatically as they explored, revealing walls covered in technological interfaces that looked both alien and strangely familiar. "The gravity generators are still working," Dr. Kim observed as they walked. through passages sized perfectly for human beings. After 3 million years, this place is still maintaining Earth-normal gravity and atmosphere. The engineering required for this is impossible by current galactic standards. They made their way to what appeared to be the central command center, a vast chamber dominated by a circular platform surrounded by holographic displays. The moment Park stepped onto the platform, the entire room came alive. Lights pulsed in. Sequence data streams flowed across transparent screens, and a massive three-dimensional map of the galaxy materialized in the center of the room. "It's a monitoring system," Dr. Kim breathed, staring at the display. The holographic galaxy showed the current positions of every major fleet in known space. Thektar warships near the Rigel system, Altarian exploration vessels mapping new trade routes. Even the locations of human colonies were marked with startling accuracy. "They've been watching everything," Park realized. "For millions of years, this station has been tracking the development of galactic civilization. Every war, every first contact, every technological breakthrough, they've recorded it all." Dr. Kim approached one of the interface panels, her hands trembling as she touched the smooth surface. Ancient text appeared, written in the same language they'd found on the crystal artifacts. Her translation device struggled with the complexity, but the meaning was clear enough. Status report. Galactic monitoring phase complete. Seed species development satisfactory. Genetic legacy carriers. Awakening detected. Awaiting recall authorization. Park felt a chill run down his spine. Genetic legacy carriers? Are they talking about us? Before Dr. Kim could answer, the central control panel began glowing with an intensity that filled the entire chamber. Park found himself drawn to it, his hand reaching out almost against his will. The moment his palm touched the surface, the station's main transmitter powered up with a deep humming sound that vibrated through the deck plates. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy burst," came O's voice from the shuttle. "The station just transmitted something toward the edge of the galaxy. The signal strength is beyond anything we've ever recorded." The message that went out was simple, transmitted on frequencies that would penetrate the deepest regions of space. Ancient relay stations, dormant for millions of years, received the signal and boosted it further into the cosmic void. The content was brief but profound. "The children have awakened. The watchers remember their names. The time of silence ends. The first gardeners return." Far beyond the galaxy's rim, in the space between stars where reality grew thin and time moved differently, something vast and ancient stirred in response to the call. Admiral Kang Seojun stood on the bridge of the Soul Guardian, Earth's flagship, and humanity's most advanced warship. Through the reinforced viewport, he could see the approaching nightmare that would haunt his dreams forever. 300 Thektar vessels moved in perfect formation toward Earth's solar system, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that could crack planets in half. The communication from the outer colonies had been brief and terrifying. New Busan. Colony gone in minutes. Daegu Station's 1,000,000 inhabitants, vaporized without warning. Incheon miners' mining facilities, reduced to floating debris. The Thektar had struck like lightning, giving no quarter to the civilians who never even knew war was coming. "Admiral, we're receiving casualty reports from the outer rim," reported Commander Yang Hyunwoo, his voice steady despite the horror in his eyes. "Preliminary estimates show 4.2 million dead. They targeted civilian populations first, sir. Schools, hospitals, residential districts." Kang's jaw tightened. In the 50 years since humanity had joined galactic civilization, they'd never fired a shot in anger. Their ships were built for exploration and defense, not the kind of massive warfare that other species seemed to embrace. Now that peaceful philosophy was about to be tested against the galaxy's most ruthless military force. "Signal all vessels," Kang ordered. "Form defensive line Delta 7. We protect Earth at all costs." The human fleet that assembled was pitifully small by galactic standards. 43 ships total, destroyers, frigates, and a handful of cruisers. That looked like toys compared to the massive Thektar dreadnoughts approaching. But every vessel was crewed by humans who knew they were fighting for the survival of their species. Captain Lee Subin commanded the destroyer Incheon's Revenge, her crew volunteers from the very colony the Thektar had just destroyed. All. Weapons charged and ready, Admiral. We'll make them pay for what they did to our families. The Thektar flagship, a monstrous vessel called Death's Talon, opened communication channels. On the main screen appeared War Commander Vexthal, his reptilian features twisted with contempt and battle-scarred from 100 conquered worlds. His species stood 3 meters tall, with armored scales that could deflect small arms fire and claws that could tear through steel. Pathetic humans, Vexthal hissed, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. Your kind has been hiding dangerous technology from the Galactic Council, those ancient ruins you've been investigating, the signals you've been transmitting. You threaten the natural order of galactic power. Your species will be eliminated before you become a threat to superior civilizations. Kang stepped forward, his uniform bearing the simple insignia of Earth's United Defense Forces. War Commander, we've never hidden anything from the Council. Our archaeological discoveries are public record. Stand down your fleet, and we can resolve this through diplomatic channels. Vexthal's laugh was like grinding metal against stone. Diplomacy is for equals, human. You are insects to be crushed beneath our claws. Witness the price of defying the Thektar Empire. The first wave of alien plasma bolts lit up space like deadly fireworks. The human destroyer Guangzhou took 3 direct hits and exploded in a brilliant flash, taking all 200 crew members with it. The frigate Jeju Wind managed to return fire, its quantum torpedoes splashing harmlessly against Thektar energy shields. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Kang commanded, watching his fleet scatter like minnows before sharks. The human vessels were faster and more maneuverable than their alien counterparts, but speed meant nothing when facing such overwhelming firepower. Captain Kim Ji-won's cruiser, Busan's Pride, managed to slip behind a Thektar battleship and unleash a full spread of nuclear missiles. The explosions lit up the alien ship's shields, but barely scratched its armored hull. In response, the battleship's main cannon vaporized the human cruiser in a single shot. "Sir, we've lost 8 ships in the first 5 minutes," Yang reported, his voice cracking slightly. "The enemy hasn't even deployed their main battle line yet." Kang watched helplessly as his fleet was systematically destroyed. The Daegu Defender rammed a Thektar destroyer, taking both ships down in a mutual fireball. The corvette Souls Hope managed to evacuate a damaged transport before being cut in half by alien beam weapons. Human courage was proving no match for superior technology and numbers. "All remaining vessels, fall back to Lunar Base," Kang ordered, his heart breaking as he gave the command. "We'll make our final stand at Earth's moon." The 17 surviving human ships limped toward Earth's natural satellite, pursued by the Thektar Armada. Lunar Base's defensive platforms opened fire, their ancient missile batteries adding to the desperate battle. But everyone knew it was futile. They'd bought perhaps an hour before the aliens began bombarding Earth itself. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Park Hyerin from the sensor station, her voice filled with confusion. "I'm detecting massive spatial distortions near Jupiter's orbit. Something's coming through hyperspace, but the energy signatures don't match any known ship designs." On the tactical display, space itself began to ripple and fold like water. Reality seemed to tear open, and from the cosmic wound emerged shadows of impossible size. The first ship that phased into normal space was larger than Earth's moon, its hull made from materials that seemed to absorb light itself. More vessels followed, dozens of them, each one dwarfing the largest Thektar dreadnought. They moved with purpose and grace despite their enormous size, taking defensive positions around the solar system like guardian angels made of metal and energy. The lead ship transmitted on all frequencies simultaneously, its message carried in, a language that every human understood instinctively, as if the words were written into their very DNA. "We have returned. The children of the first garden are under our protection. Those who would harm them have chosen extinction." War Commander Vexthal's confident expression crumbled into terror as his sensors registered the impossible vessels surrounding his fleet. For the first time in his career of conquest, the Thektar warrior knew true fear. The air on Admiral Kang's bridge shimmered like heat waves rising from summer pavement. Reality seemed to bend and twist as a figure began materializing from nothing. particles of light coalescing into solid form. The being that appeared looked human at first glance, but there was something profoundly different about him. His eyes held depths that spoke of witnessing the birth and death of stars, and when he moved, it was with the careful grace of someone who had learned patience across millions of years. "I am Elder Songdaehan of the First Gardeners," he said, his voice carrying harmonics that resonated through the ship's hull itself. The words seemed to bypass the ears entirely, speaking directly to something deep within human consciousness. "We have watched our children grow in silence for far too long. That silence ends today." Admiral Kang stepped backward instinctively, his military training warring with an overwhelming sense of recognition. This being felt familiar in ways that defied explanation, like meeting a grandfather he'd never known but whose face was carved into his genetic memory. "Sir, the Thektar fleet has gone completely silent," reported Commander Yang, his voice filled with awe and confusion. "All 300 ships have stopped moving. Their weapons are offline, engines dead. They're just floating." Through the bridge viewports, the scene unfolding around Earth was beyond anything in human military doctrine. The ancestor fleet had positioned itself in perfect defensive formations throughout the solar system. Each massive vessel dwarfed human imagination, some shaped like elongated crescents that curved around entire planets, others resembling crystalline structures that seemed to phase in and out of visible reality. On the Thektar flagship, Death's Talon, War Commander Vexthal frantically pressed controls that no longer responded. His bridge crew of reptilian warriors stood frozen in disbelief as their most advanced weapon systems shut down one by one. Emergency power failed. Life support switched to backup systems. Even their personal communicators went silent. "This is impossible." Vexthal roared, his claws scraping uselessly against dead control panels. "Our technology is our own creation. We built these ships with our own hands." Elder Song's image appeared on every screen throughout the Thektar fleet simultaneously, his expression carrying the weight of disappointed parenthood. "Your faster-than-light drives," he said calmly, "were reverse-engineered from ruins you found on Kepler 186F. Your plasma cannons are based on power cores discovered in the Vega system. Your computer networks run on quantum processors that you excavated from dead cities on a dozen worlds." The elder gestured, and holographic displays appeared showing archaeological sites across the galaxy. Every major technological advancement of the past million years could be traced back to First Gardener ruins. The hyperdrive that allowed interstellar travel, the energy shields that protected ships in battle, even the artificial gravity generators that made long space voyages possible, all originated from the same ancient source. "We built those worlds," Elder Song continued, his voice carrying across every communication channel in known space. "We seeded the galaxy with our technology, waiting for the right time to reclaim it. You are children playing with tools you never understood, and now you have used those tools to threaten our true inheritors." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as dormant First Gardener installations suddenly awakened. On the Galactic Council Station orbiting Vega Prime, emergency alarms blared as ancient systems embedded deep within the station's core began asserting control. The Council chamber's lights flickered and died, replaced by the soft blue glow of First Gardener technology. Ambassador Zephys of the Altarians watched in fascination as her species' most advanced computers displayed impossible readings. "Our entire technological civilization," she whispered. "We built it all on foundations we never knew existed." The crystalline Veltar representatives resonated with harmonic frequencies of pure terror as they realized their silicon-based processing cores were responding to external commands older than their species. The gaseous Nethians found their atmospheric containment systems following protocols written in an ancient language that predated galactic civilization. On the research vessel New Soul, Dr. Kim Hana pressed her face against the observation deck's transparent aluminum viewport, watching the massive ancestor ships take protective positions around Earth. Each vessel seemed to bend light around itself, creating visual distortions that hurt to look at directly. "Captain Park," she called, her voice filled with wonder. "I'm reading energy signatures that shouldn't be possible. These ships are powered by controlled black holes, using gravity wells as propulsion systems. They're manipulating space-time, itself like we manipulate water. Captain Park joined her at the viewport, watching as one of the ancestor vessels, a kilometer-long structure that resembled a metallic flower, deployed what looked like tendrils of pure energy. The tendrils reached across space to touch disabled Thektar ships, and wherever they made contact, the alien vessel's systems shut down even more completely. We're not just another species that randomly evolved on Earth, Dr. Kim realized, the pieces finally falling into place in her mind. The genetic similarities, the way our technology develops along the same lines as the ancient ruins, even our instinctive understanding of their language, we're their direct descendants, their genetic legacy. Elder Song materialized beside them on the observation deck, his presence somehow comforting rather than threatening. "Your people have learned something that most galactic species never master," he said, nodding approvingly at the human crew. "Patience. You observed rather than conquered. You waited rather than rushed to judgment. You grew wise in silence while others proclaimed their strength with violence." Through the ship's communication system, they could hear panicked transmissions from across the galaxy. The Thektar Empire's most advanced battle cruisers were drifting helplessly. The Rigelian Federation's trade fleets found their navigation systems following new routes. Even the peaceful Altarian exploration vessels discovered their scientific instruments were now providing data far beyond their previous capabilities. "The galaxy built its entire civilization on our gifts," Elder Song explained, watching as Earth's moon was gently enclosed by a protective energy field generated by one of the ancestor ships. "Now they will learn why we chose your small blue world as our final garden, why we invested our genetic heritage in humanity, rather than the species that seemed more immediately powerful." War Commander Vexthul's final transmission echoed across the solar system, his voice breaking with the realization of how completely he had miscalculated. "What are you? What do you want from us?" Elder Song's response was simple and final. "We are the gardeners returning to tend our garden, and you, War Commander, have threatened the flowers we spent millions of years cultivating. That was a mistake you will not make again." Dr. Kim Hana walked through corridors that hummed with awakened power, her footsteps echoing in the vast archives of the orbital station above Kepler 442c. 6 months had passed since the Thektar defeat, and the ancient facility had transformed from a dead relic into a living library of impossible knowledge. Holographic displays lined the walls, showing star charts that map not just current galactic civilization, but the locations of thousands of dormant installations waiting to be reactivated. "The genetic locks are dissolving faster each day," she reported to Elder Song, who stood before a massive crystalline matrix that pulsed with the stored memories of an entire civilization. "Human volunteers are remembering things they never learnt. Engineering principles that took us centuries to discover, they're recalling in dreams." Lieutenant Park Sunwoo, a recent arrival from Earth's Naval Academy, touched one of the interface panels and immediately began reading technical specifications for faster-than-light engines that made current galactic technology look primitive. "I can see how to build quantum tunnel drives," he said in amazement. "I can picture the mathematical formulas, feel how the components fit together. It's like remembering a childhood lesson I forgot." The transformation wasn't limited to the archives. Across human space, ordinary people were experiencing sudden flashes of inherited knowledge. Farmers on colony worlds were developing new agricultural techniques that could feed entire planets. Engineers were designing spacecraft with capabilities that defied current understanding of physics. Even children were drawing pictures of star systems they'd never seen but somehow knew intimately. President Lee Soo-young had addressed the United Nations Assembly from the rebuilt council chambers. On Earth, her words broadcast to every human settlement across known space. "The choice before us is clear," she had announced, standing beneath the newly installed First Gardener symbols that had appeared on government buildings worldwide. "We can remain in our comfortable corner of the galaxy, protected but limited, or we can accept our true heritage and help guide galactic civilization toward a better future." The vote was unanimous across all human colonies. From the mining stations of the asteroid belt to the agricultural domes of Proxima Centauri, humanity chose to embrace their destiny as inheritors of the first gardener legacy. Within weeks, the Great Expansion began. Human colonial ships, now enhanced with awakening first gardener technology, set course for the 12 seed worlds marked on the ancient star maps. Each world was protected by massive ancestor vessels that materialized from deep space, like guardian angels made of living metal and crystallized energy. The colony ship New Incheon arrived at the 4th seed world to find cities that had been waiting 3 million years for their inhabitants to return home. The streets were sized perfectly for human feet, the buildings designed with human aesthetic preferences that predated Earth's civilization by eons. Power grids activated automatically as the first colonists stepped onto alien soil that felt more familiar than their birth worlds. "It's like the cities were built yesterday," reported Colonial Administrator Bei Jinho as he walked through streets that cleaned themselves and buildings that adjusted their internal temperature based on human comfort preferences. "The infrastructure is more advanced than anything we have on Earth, but it feels completely natural to use." The collapse of the Galactic Council had sent shockwaves throughout known space. Ambassador Zephys of the Altarians was among the first to request formal alliance with humanity, arriving at Earth aboard a small diplomatic vessel that looked crude compared to the ancestor ships patrolling the solar system. "We offer our friendship and cooperation," she told President Lee during their first official meeting. "The Altarian people have always valued peace and knowledge above conquest. We believe our civilizations can learn much from each other." Other species made similar overtures, but the responses varied dramatically based on their past behavior. The peaceful traders of the Centauri Federation found themselves welcomed as partners in exploring the galaxy's mysteries. The scientific researchers of the Andromedan Institute were invited to study alongside human archaeologists as they uncovered more first gardener sites. But species like the Thektar faced a very different fate. War Commander Vex Thul now commanded nothing more than orbital defense platforms around his homeworld, watched constantly by silent ancestor vessels that monitored every ship movement. The once mighty Thektar Empire found their fleet reduced to system patrol boats, their territorial ambitions permanently curtailed by beings who treated their most advanced weapons like toys. Captain Park Ji-hoon, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, stood on the bridge of the Soul Ascendant, the first vessel built using fully awakened first gardener technology. The ship was a marvel that defied traditional spacecraft design. Part metal, part crystalline matrix, part pure energy held, in perfect balance. It could cross the galaxy in days rather than months, phase through solid matter when necessary, and repair itself using techniques that seemed more like magic than engineering. "Admiral, we're approaching the edge of known space," reported his second-in-command, Lieutenant Colonel John Minnar. "Long-range sensors are detecting the installation Elder Song described. It's larger than anything we've encountered so far." Through the bridge viewport, they could see their destination, a structure that dwarfed planets stretching across space like a mechanical constellation. Dormant for millions of years, it was beginning to awaken as their ship approached, ancient, systems recognizing the genetic signatures of their creators' chosen inheritors. "We were never really quiet," Admiral Park told his crew as they prepared to dock with the massive installation. "We were just waiting for the right moment to speak. Our ancestors taught us patience, and now the galaxy will learn what that patience was preparing us for." Behind them, the joint human ancestor exploration fleet spread across space, hundreds of vessels carrying the combined wisdom of two civilizations separated by millions of years but united by shared DNA and common purpose. They were heading into the unknown regions beyond mapped space, seeking other sleeping installations and perhaps other species who might be ready to join the new galactic order. The galaxy had learned a fundamental truth that would reshape civilization. For millions of years to come, humanity's silence had never been weakness, but the quiet confidence of sleeping giants who always knew their true nature. The children of the first garden had finally come home, and the stars themselves would remember their names long after current civilizations had faded into history. as the great installation fully awakened and opened its docking bays to welcome them. Admiral Park smiled. The real adventure was just beginning. The end.